I joined the XRP Ledger Foundation today and very excited. I am going to cover the community section. Director of Community is going to be the role, and that's basically everything from the foundation presence, the front-facing president of the foundation will be handled by me. I will do my absolute best that there will be no ambiguity about communication between those stakeholders. If we at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we made progress in those, and the community will be the judge ultimately, right? The community will be ultimately the judge. Then I see us basically as we did a great job and we succeeded, and highlight the protocol, but of course also XRP and its role in use. All of us are holders, all the people in the foundation, we are also holders of XRP. We have vast interest in seeing the ecosystem succeed in any shape or form, but we are of course also overly passionate about the protocol. That's for me very important, because using those to snowball wins, I was giving that example that time is very important. And yeah, I'm very confident we're going to snowball a lot of wins.
Hey everyone, and welcome to a new and special Krippenreiter TV episode, hosted by me, Krippenreiter, and my regular co-host Vet, who's going to be the main topic today. There are some huge news that dropped, and I have to say, at least for me, this was the most bullish news on XRP that I've heard for a long time. Sure, I'm biased a little bit because that is my main guest that I invite every week. But knowing that one of the biggest problems on XRP is not actually tech, but communication, I would say this was and probably will be my highlight this year. The moment I heard it already had 1,000 questions in my mind, which we'll go through today. So let's get started. Hey Vet, for everyone who doesn't know you already, so just in case, and missed also maybe the big news today, fill us in. Who are you and what's the big news in regards to you personally?
Yeah, so me as Vet as a character also on X with the blue mushroom. I think some people have seen that. But a long-term community member in the XRP community. Started dabbling around with it in early 2020s with the tech. This is when XLS20 dropped. It was the NFT standard on the XRP Ledger, where I got more from an investor point of view, more into the tech. Got very heavily more involved with the NFT community on the XRPL. Got to learn a bunch of really awesome people, which have become my best friends basically in the ecosystem. To then go on and create companies and build projects, and starting with XRP Cafe, which was, I would say, first success with building it. Built a bunch of tools myself, started running a validator. We won XRPL grants that Ripple was hosting back then, accelerator programs, did sessions at Apex, and I went and did more educational things, and pretty much everything around XRP and XRP Ledger. Did even propose an amendment called XLS46, which was adopted and activated on the mainnet. Contributed to documentation. So I think one of the things is what I always say is I've done, I think, everything that you can do really on the XRP Ledger to some extent. Never got really to be a pro in one thing or a super specialist into one thing. But I would say I got to touch all of the bits and pieces around the XRPL and the XRP Ledger, which made me even more involved in what's going on with this ecosystem, aside from being just an investor, which was previously sort of my time. Before I, coming from Bitcoin, how the usual start is.
And now the big news, you joined the XRP Ledger Foundation.
Yeah, that's a big news.
Yeah.
I joined the XRP Ledger Foundation today, and very excited. I am going to cover the community section. Director of Community is going to be the role, and that's basically everything from the foundation presence, the front-facing president of the foundation will be handled by me, together of course with all the other directors. Collaboration, going to represent the board members, and of course everything that is in our mandate, which is, I would say, you can say basically we're going to advocate for XRP and the XRP Ledger. We're going to develop the protocol, and we're going to work alongside other people in the ecosystem in favor of the XRP Ledger to get adoption going and all of these amazing things. which of course is like super great because after building and being a founder and stepping back, sort of taking a step back, taking time for myself, had like almost a full year for myself, like in 2025, to just sort of take a step back and do my thing and enjoy time with family. It's now very exciting to jump dive into a project, so to speak, where you get to be sort of a founder again, and to do this. Yeah.
So you will do a lot of communication. You will do brand awareness for XRP and XRPL. So I guess also all the social media part probably will be part of yours. But when I
correct.
Okay, but when I think about this, I think about you could also do it on the sidelines. You are involved so much already. What convinced you to now also join the foundation instead of just being a DUNL validator and just help and support the ecosystem like I do, for example, more on the sidelines?
I think the main part is to professionalize it, and specifically professionalize it on a high level to work with other stakeholders in the ecosystem. So you can mention like XRP Labs, you can mention XRPL Commons, Ripple, Evernorth, all entities, small projects, bigger projects, and have sort of the resource authority to help those projects better in a collective manner. So basically us as an XRPL Foundation to provide support, but also be good stewards of the ecosystem and the protocol alongside others, because at the end of the day, it's an open ecosystem. True. There is no the foundation, actually, right? Because you can create a foundation yourself too, but it just happened to be now that we have created one, or if the board members have created one. And to do this in a professional way, very dedicated as well, full-time with the whole team that everybody has seen. That was my motivation to do this properly, because I think specifically if you want to do it right, you want to really like focus on it and not just do it on the side.
Yeah, true. But then I guess now that you've joined the XRP Ledger Foundation, I bet there are some low-hanging fruits probably that you are going to fix first. So maybe your roadmap. What are your first steps? What is the one thing maybe that you will start with, and then the broader spectrum? What is going on?
So that's probably, I think, a lot of low-hanging fruits, and all of us are really doers and builders. If you see the team with long experience in their respective category, which is very exciting because that means we can start running. Basically, we hit the ground running. I think one of the things is the whole branding aspect and also communications, but the social presence of also XRP in general is very strong. We have a very strong community, but I think there is a lot of, basically low-hanging fruits for an organization like the XRPL Foundation to be really also in a leadership position here. Namely, I mean, one of the easiest things that people have seen is a complete revamp of the X profile, and just to tackle the socials properly. Because I think so far the XRPL Foundation page or presence was sort of more in the background, not really like front and center, which is unusual if for an organization that is actually or should be like front and center, not in the back. So we're going to fix that. That's going to be completely different. We are going to be much closer to ecosystem builders. We're going to be much closer to all established stakeholders. We will be in very regular contact with them throughout. There will be, of course I cannot promise, but I will do my absolute best that there will be like no ambiguity about communication between those stakeholders. Because at the end of the day, this is all friction that gets lost when we have a momentum. So when we have momentum, we don't want to be losing this by, friction and we don't know what happened. If you look at the amendment votings and a lot of the things, we can organize a lot of these things better. And other things is like having regular calls with not only the community, but also think of the core ledger team, think of the validators in general, to sort of invite them all, see like where we are at, what do people need to get votings in. Be sort of that person where everybody says, well, somebody has to do it, but I don't want to do it. That's typically what people then say. I think this is where specifically the foundation is a bucket where they can catch all of this. have strong presence also cross-chain across other ecosystems because the world is multi-chain, representing the XRPL ecosystem across other ecosystems and collaborating with them is a very strong lever that we need to do as well. Think of issued assets that move from one chain to another, getting interesting assets to the XRPL, and you will see like these things. Not to go, of course, too specifically in detail, but you will definitely see already like a lot of things. I want also like you can see that we have a lot of great content creators on the XRP Ledger, educational things, people who do really their best to highlight the ecosystem, highlight the protocol, but of course also XRP and its role and use. And I think we can also do a great job in supporting those creators. To raise the bar in quality that people can find on X, but also other mediums that fit. Something else is I want to support together, of course, with other stakeholders, regional community leaders. That's sort of an idea. I mean, there's many ideas, and some of them might not come to fruition. I don't want people to pin me down on anything, but there's a lot of really interesting ideas, and there's a lot of, how should I say, fire in everybody to get things going and really just tackle them instead of just like saying, maybe someone should do it or not. Yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Definitely. I mean, also a little bit, one issue I also see maybe is all the misconceptions that exist. Because we were talking about cross-chain, and I was talking with one Bitcoiner, and there is still to this day, there is the issue that people are not able to understand the differences between XRP, XRP Ledger, the network, XRP Ledger, the foundation, and Ripple. So you have all these entities, and I wonder what can the XRP Ledger Foundation do, or you, because it's a communication problem, I guess, to handle these miscommunications, misconceptions, and maybe even get rid of them finally this year.
I think some of the misconceptions are. It sounds easy to say because that's sort of me putting it like on other people if I say that, but a lot of them are unfortunately like rooted in ignorance, right? Whereas like I believe this and there's like no way you're going to convince me otherwise. But I would like to believe this is a minority, but a loud minority. So people with a lot of followers who say this. But I think a lot of the listeners, and you typically see this, like this is what we always like said when someone is talking about negative about XRP or XRPL, and people say, why do you like constantly correct these people or set the record straight? It's not for that person, but for every person who is seeing the post, who was commenting and, like, oh, these people, if you just can convince the silent majority and get them like, think differently about these things, I think that's a huge win. For us is, I think, that goes with what I said, like pushing a lot of the educational content, pushing a lot of things that are focused in XRP and XRP Ledger. Because I think when you, as soon as you mix companies with it or like specific ones, it's for some reason some people have an issue with sort of separating those, and then that's get the problem. And I think we can definitely copy that and do, hey, we're going to separate these things and have the messaging just more clear about XRP and XRP Ledger, which is going to help tremendously. Everything around the misconceptions. What I'm not a fan of course, is to basically go out and would like have like these Twitter fights or something like this constantly. I mean, there are sometimes there are places for this. It's like XRP Army in war times and XRP Family in peace times. You will see this maybe more or less from individual accounts. Maybe I do this like a private account, but you will not see the like sort of the foundation account correcting sort of misinformation under people's personal posts underneath. I don't think that's the place. That should not be done with the foundation account or just directly from the foundation. It's sort of us taking the high road. Us taking the high road is, I think, the best way, and to be just consistent. And when you're consistent with something, that's personally what I believe is it will just take effect. And specifically when we collaborate with a lot of people. That goes back to communication and to talk with folks in person. Then that's going to change. Like, hey, we're going to go, let's say, to the Bitcoin conference and talk to people there. Go to the Ethereum conference, talk to people there.
Yeah,
things like that.
I think this is also great because brand awareness is important also for XRP to finally maybe get rid of these misconceptions, because for most people, I mean you said this one time that many people don't even know that XRP has a ledger, that there is no blockchain behind it, even though there is one obviously, and it's crazy to think that in 2026 this is still not known for many people.
Yeah, but I would also say this is for the people who are maybe more rooted in ignorance, and we have like always to say what is the low-hanging fruit in terms of, are we going to focus on the small sort of minority, which is the crypto community, but there's like so many other people out there outside of crypto, like in the crypto Twitter sphere, that don't have like these biases, right? I think these biases come like more from the crypto Twitter scene very much, right?
Could be.
And less so from the outside world, where people from the outside world treat this more like as one thing. They see this as like crypto, right? They're not going to say, oh yeah, like this is different. This is crypto and that's one thing. And ironically, this is how the market also treats like crypto. It moves together up and down. It's like, and we should use that. We should use that in the sense of picking the fights where they're worth it, and just leave those that are not worth it. And but being consistent with communications, being consistent with education, and meeting people where they are, taking the high road whenever possible is probably like that suited me always well, and that's what I'm going to apply the same here for the foundation.
Great. One main focus, I think, for many people that are listening right now is also XRP. So not only the blockchain, but XRP, the coin. And one thing the former XRP Ledger Foundation was doing really with 100% focus was focusing solely on the XRP Ledger, so the network. Are you going to change this in any way? Are you going to also focus on XRP? So maybe some more deep dives and communication focus on XRP, the coin as well?
100%. Like this is a given, because they are together and they're very important. They're also important very much for the space, and also to legitimize, right, the foundation in the eyes of the community, because you need to you are not going to get gifted respect. You can only earn it. And I think you need to specifically see where people are coming from. Majority of people are, of course, they started off by investing in the coin. They're interested in coin. And how does the coin relate to the technology, and how does the technology relate to the coin, and vice versa, is very, very important. This is something all other foundations are doing, which, by the way, this is maybe another topic that we can talk about, like the other foundations. But definitely, like XRP is, at the end of the day, like all of us are holders. All the people in the foundation, we are also holders of XRP. We have vast interest in seeing the ecosystem succeed in any shape or form. But we are, of course, also overly passionate about the protocol. It's a holistic thing. Yeah. We are not going to divide like these things, say like separate and remove the other one. They are part of it. They are very important, and it is crucial that for messaging and for education, for all of this, it comes together. Well, does that mean you will see price predictions on the XRP Ledger Foundation X account? No,
wow.
You will not find that.
Who would have thought?
That's because that's what a lot of people think. Like maybe more from develop. Oh, is the foundation going to do price predictions? No, of course not. Like no foundation does that. But it does also not mean to be like we just ignore like everything that goes on.
It is an important topic.
It's also not going to happen. Yeah, it's part of it. To see, for example, I did like this analysis about XRP used as a bridge currency on the XRP Ledger DEX, seeing like how much was it used, on the XRP Ledger DEX as a bridge currency, and what is maybe the potential here that you can see. What is the privileged role of XRP on the protocol? Why are digital assets the counterparty-free native ones, why are they so special? These math-based currencies. They have no counterparty. They can move across the internet. They are censorship resistant. They have no issuer. Things that are groundbreaking. Like seriously, we had never these things before. You can mention like gold or similar commodities, but you never had them at the speed that you can transfer them. You had never at the accuracy of verification. You know, an XRP that you get received is a real XRP. If I give you a gold bar, you don't know, is this a fake gold bar? Is it not? You need to check it. So something like this we had never before. Yeah. So it's very revolutionary. Mm-hmm. Why would we ignore it? That would be very ignorant, and we will not do that.
Also, the maximum supply with gold, you don't know. With XRP, just check the last ledger, right? So it's
just check the last ledger.
Yeah.
There's even an RPC command. Mm-hmm. It's max supply, and you can see the max supply is automatically given to you.
One thing I would like to know also is, how do you measure success? Like, I guess under your guidance, how would you measure for the XRP holder? How would the XRP holder find out if you were successful in the future? What does success for XRP Ledger Foundation look like under your guidance?
Mm-hmm. So as a whole team, with all of us, like from the tech team, from the executive, Brett Mullen, and me from the community side, really for us is like, are we going to improve? Like initially, you have seen like a lot of these things with protocol security, increased protocol security, right? Did we achieve that? Did we achieve protocol security? Did we achieve more adoption of the XRP Ledger in terms of, let's say, maybe more validators to join the network, quality validators who partake as stakeholders? Do we led some initiatives that are very fruitful? You can think of like bootstrapping the XRP Ledger and things like that. Get more activity going, users, projects, cultivating this ecosystem, and be just good stewards in all of these aspects. If we at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we made like progress in those, and the community will be the judge ultimately, right? The community will be ultimately the judge. Then I see us like basically as we did a great job and we succeeded, and that's for me very important, because using those to snowball wins, I was like giving that example that time is very important, and yeah, I'm very confident we're going to snowball a lot of wins.
Can we take this as a yes for doubling down on the 4 working groups that exist? So core dev, infrastructure, UNL, and sustainability. Are you going to double down on this, or is there an overhaul planned in the grand scheme of XRP Ledger Foundation?
Yeah, so when the XRP Ledger Foundation board started with looking at all these corners, the pillars and all that, and they did like I think a lot of workshops in Paris. A lot of people attended this come together workshop, and they were outlining these things. I think they had like all these ideas which make sense, and they're very important to the community, and they're also important to the protocol. Whether they are going to exactly be what it was back then, or like sort of thought of, I cannot promise, like from these working groups. But we talked like in the beginning that specifically for my part, I want to bring these people definitely together. Think of be very clear with the community. What are the core ledger people up to? Get them together. Get Luke from XRP Comments. Get Ayo. And get other people together so that we can sort of have a conversation what's going on currently in the core dev community. Public to the community, so everybody can join. If they cannot join, you can see the recording or the transcript. Same with the validators, right? Get them together, get on the same page. Get with normal community members. Sort of have like a place where people can say, hey, we would love to see these things. How can we organize that? Can someone help us to do these things? Think of it more like an office hour for each of some of these domains.
Okay.
Whether all of these domains will exist, I cannot tell you, because it really depends also for people to come and basically participate. I'm pretty confident the validator and the core dev one will definitely be. I think what will be interesting is for people to see is this whole collaboration between entities will be very strong. You see XRP Asia is coming out. That is an entity in Asia. I think based in Singapore. And then you have XRPL Commons and you have XRPL Foundation, of course, as sort of these nonprofit organizations to really echo a lot of important topics and drive adoption. Like we will work like across the globe together with different focuses. Some are more like regional app focused, app developer focused. Others maybe more high level, right? Like we would probably be more high level than let's say XRPL Commons, which is like more than on the ground with the developers and app developers, hackathons, and you name it. So you will see a lot of overlap here.
Nice.
But none of these things are fixed. The thing is, we will try a lot of things, and a lot of things might not be great. A lot of things would be like awesome. We're going to double down on this, but we will do this together with the community. That's like a definitely 100% a promise. Everything that we're going to do is to be together with the community. Incorporate also this is also for me very important. Incorporate community feedback into our decision making, right? So whenever we look for like decision making in terms of which direction, it is very important to me, and therefore also, of course, for the whole foundation, that we incorporate these things into their thoughts. That's, by the way, also something that you would do when you are building a project. You iterate on customer feedback and then you make it better. That's exactly what we would do. For example, when we think about amendments, you should think of what is the community need. What is the developer need? What is the community? What do they want to have? And then you start with that. Like things that would move the ecosystem forward in terms of protocol development. At the same time, right? It's very important also for me that everybody's aware of the core ledger strength. What is making the XRPL so strong, so unique, that we uphold those strengths alongside our development. I'm not for stagnant development of the XRPL whatsoever, right? Like that was never our DNA. But we need to uphold our core strength. At the same time, then also get a good storytelling. For a lot of people, it's very hard to understand how do these things piece together. So this is where you're going to see me very front and focused to make sure that the whole storytelling makes sense for people, that they can follow along what is the thought process of it. And I would love, of course, to collaborate with everyone in the community to achieve that. That's not only my effort, but I want to be the enabler for everybody in the community who wants to do that.
How transparent do you think you can be with all of this? Not just the XRP Ledger Foundation, but maybe even you especially as well. So the transparency for the community. Can we see not only the success stories, but the failures as well? How transparent will you be?
Yeah, I think there's like no, I cannot think of how we would like hide failures, right? I would love that the community would be, that's why I said like be our judges as well. And be very clear, like if we did something not great, then tell us that we didn't do great. Because honest feedback is at the end of the day like a gift, and it's because our goal is to get this ecosystem even further than it is right now. Like we want to be the accelerator of the ecosystem with all what we bring to the table, and so it's not of a benefit if everybody says you guys are great, you're doing great. If it's not really the way we do, like if it's not really great,
it has to be natural.
If people tell us, hey. Yeah, exactly. If people tell us, hey, actually, that wasn't great. Can you adjust these? Can you do this? This is what we want to have. Like we are open for absolutely for criticism to do better. At the same time, you will, of course, see us celebrating with everybody else in the ecosystem when we do great things. This is also very important to say, hey, we did awesome things and we're going to celebrate. And we're going to celebrate very, very loud when, with these things. It's very important. Yeah. And when, something is not great, we also will be open about it, that these things are not great. Yeah. That's from a communication point of view.
Are you planning to also maybe collaborate with other foundations, and maybe also not just the collaboration part, but also what would you say differentiates the XRP Ledger Foundation to other foundations? Because one good example probably is the Solana Foundation. It's doing a really good job, and the Ethereum Foundation is also pretty well known to do a good job. How do you think you can differentiate here?
Yeah. So first about to collaborate with other foundations, 100%. I think collaboration between like these ecosystems is the most important. And you will see like, I'm a very high confidence here that Brett is really the right person to lead the foundation in this section, to get like people from other foundations work together with us, other entities work together with us to make us a better foundation, but also, of course, to benefit them, because at the end of the day, it's always mutual. I'll give you an example. There was like this protocol hack by Drift on Solana, and then the people were transferring funds from Solana to Ethereum, right? The hacker was transferring funds out, bridging out. So, and then you have now two ecosystems that sort of need to work together, because there was a black hat hacker who is now transferring funds around and try to wash them. There needs collaboration. And for me, we need to be also well connected with those blockchains where there is a lot of value as well. So that if they would bridge to the XRP Ledger, right, that they have like an easy connection to us, that we can react as well. It's very important that people have a very easy and fast channel of communications with us in those aspects. And how the XRP Foundation differentiates itself, specific from other foundations, is I think we need to say that we are in a very privileged role, that we are starting with a very strong community. The XRP community is arguably the strongest community in whole crypto. Maybe one of the strongest in the whole internet from a group point of view, as a collective, which is very powerful. So we are starting with a very, very powerful DNA, with a very powerful community. And I'm very, very proud really to be with those people all in the community here to do this. Well, if you see some other foundations, they struggle more in that aspect. They don't have this community backing, this strength. So I'm very aware of our sort of advantage here in that case. Something else is that we may in general have, when you look at the protocol, something that is overlooked by some people in the ecosystem, as we talked in the earlier beginning, that there's misconceptions. But I believe we have such a strong combination here of a decentralized protocol and a community to really amplify and get adoption going on a large scale for institutions and for retail. That they will be really unmatched in terms of like looking at if you get this power really on the ground, right? If you get grip on the tire, I think it's over. Like really, it's over for a lot of people.
That's beautiful put, I would say, because this is really, you might say this is how it should be, but it's actually not so obvious sometimes, because you get so many success stories from everywhere, but sometimes maybe as an ecosystem participant, you may have the feeling that there's not enough focus on it from the big participants that should focus on it.
And it's also much easier having like more of these entities focus on places, builders, on the XRP Ledger DEX, on XRP, the asset for integrations and things like that, right? Then, having it only, let's say, in one entity, right? Because, at the end of the day, Ripple is building their institutional stack, and they're having a lot of success with that. And that is very important for builders in the ecosystem. Have like, hey, there are builders who are taking up that role of bringing institutions in. And sort of they build maybe other things that are very interesting. But that also means that we need to sort of have like a decentralized view on what we want to integrate and what not. For example, if someone says, hey, just give you an easy example, DeFi Llama. Let's say DeFi Llama is a good place. You want to have XRP tokens or DeFi or whatever be listed on this metric aggregator. It's an aggregator, DeFi Llama. Everybody knows DeFi Llama. So you could say, well, Ripple should do it. Ripple should do the integration. Well, the integration is super simple. You need a little bit of code. You just tell them that on Telegram that you publish it on GitHub, and then they integrate you. Just someone needs to do it, right? And us as a community need to take this ownership role. Like they to say, hey, we want to do these things, then we make it happen. First Ledger is a great example. They made DEX Screener happen. They make like all these. You just said, hey, we need it. We're going to make it. And this thinking, I want to drive further forward, and I'm very proud to have like such a strong team with me here, leadership, as well as like seeing also other entities like XRP Commons, Asia, be very, very important part of this whole journey. So yeah, you will see this. There's a lot of firepower gearing up. Yeah.
But sometimes you have to mix the firepower with funding, and this is maybe also a huge criticism that people will come up with. is that maybe you end up not being neutral because you have to rely on funding in some sense because you are a non-profit. So in the end, you could say, well, the XRP Ledger Foundation will turn out not to be neutral. When I look at, let's say, an institution and the retail community, let's say the average Joe investor or the developer, how do you stay neutral in this ecosystem that is so diverse? Like, how do you stop being bought from the institutions that obviously have the most money to buy you?
I think what the most important part is incentive alignment, right? Is if our incentives are aligned with other people's incentives, right? You can mention like Ripple's incentives, XRPL Commons incentives, the ETF issuers incentive, Evernorth incentive, which is at the end of the day, we want to have a secure protocol that is open, that is decentralized, that is maintained. We want to have a strong community that's being cared of, right? Like these things, where if we can agree on these things, right, then it doesn't matter who is sort of contributing how much, because everybody's going to contribute as much as they can, right? So maybe I can only contribute $10, right, and then someone else can contribute more to this nonprofit organization, and but as long as we do things that are for the common public, common good, right? I see like no problem in this aspect. I think this is also where you as a community. I encourage you to be like the watchers. If you see us, right, favoring a specific company or favoring something that we would do that is not incentive alignment of the whole ecosystem, then call us out, right? Just call us out. Say, hey, like what's going on here? But of course, tell us also if we're doing something great where there is incentive alignment with the whole ecosystem, because that's at the end of the day how I think is very easy. And because we make everything public, we tell everybody about everything. It's hard to imagine we would get away with something like we will never get away with being biased or being not neutral, because people will see it and will call us out, right? And so we have all the incentives to exactly walk this path of working together with everybody for the greater good, and then nobody can be against something like that.
Yeah. Now we talked a lot about the XRP Ledger Foundation, about the structure, what you are going to plan as well, but also about you especially. And on many organizations, there's something called key performance indicators, so KPIs. How do you measure for yourself? How do you measure for yourself if you are successful in what you are doing or not? Let's say right now, and then a year from now, and you look back, how do you find out if what you did as that, so in the XRP Ledger Foundation, were successful?
I mean, of course, you can look at numbers, numerical things, where you can see, let's say, on the socials, on how much participation we have, how much achievements we have. Did certain stats improve, right, on the ecosystem? But for me personally, which is really like I think the KPI that I 100% think the community will measure me on, and where I would measure also myself on is public perception. It's like when people say, hey, you guys did great. And the foundation did great this year, or you did drive a lot of interesting initiatives. It's great to see such a great force among others in the ecosystem. Then for me, like we succeeded here, right? Like we did great here, because I can say I can do a great job on the numbers, and on the numbers, and then the community will say, to be honest, like you guys did actually not too great. Like we barely heard from you guys, barely any initiatives. Nobody took any of our concerns serious. There was no communication, like all these things, and then the numbers don't really help you much. The numbers, of course, are very important for us, like internally, to measure, like, hey, what initiatives make sense, what initiatives do not make sense. But for the public, for the average community, it will always be like their subjective judgment. Did you guys do great from my feeling, or did you do not great? And there will be a lot of people who say, I'm pretty sure you guys did not as good as maybe I thought so. But for me, as long as it's more than last year, and we can accumulate basically the people who would find us good, I guess that would be the NPS score in the corporate world, right? As long as we can, as long as we can get more recommended. I mean, it doesn't really fit much because you cannot recommend the XRPL Foundation to your anyway. It's a non-profit, not a product, but but as long as you get like more, really like along like with the NPS, if you think about that. For me personally, this is then we did great. And also hearing that feedback from other stakeholders, how they perceived that.
But how would people reach out to you? Like you said, right now you want feedback. If people think subjectively that you're not doing a great job or that you are doing a great job, how can people compliment you? And how can people give feedback or tell you maybe personally or the foundation itself on how to move forward?
Well, people can always go to my boss, which is like Brett,
okay,
and tell him if they really want to. But you can of course reach me out on X. Everybody knows where they can find me on X. If for some reason you cannot message me on X or you are not on X, you can message the XRPL Foundation X page. You can write an email. You can reach out through the webpage. You can reach out also on the regular calls that we will have. So you can just join the calls and just tell us. And to be honest, I will say this: you don't probably need even to really reach out. If you post it on X, if you just post it on X on your page, I will probably see it. I'll probably see it. Okay, so if you just post it on X and you maybe tag the foundation, I will probably see it. I would prefer, of course, if that's not the main way of communication, that people just write sort of posts and tag us there. But do whatever, like however this fits you, you will find a way. And if you find no way, which is impossible in my opinion, by all the channels that we provide. You can also go to the Discord. We have also Discord, which you will see will get like a complete revamp. As a spoiler, I was not giving away before, but they will have a complete revamp. Like a lot of things we will tackle. You will see a lot of people contributing to this effort. We are in close contact with a bunch of community folks who did a great job in the past as well, collaborating across the board, and you will always find someone who you can reach out. And by the way, this is also very important. If you don't want to reach out, because that's for me important, because a lot of people don't want to reach out because they don't want their name. Let's say you find something that I did like very terrible, and you didn't like how the XRP Foundation handled this, right? Maybe you think, well, I'm good friends with that, so I don't want to tell him. So how can I give the feedback without influencing the relationship? There will be also ways to anonymously, of course, submit these things. Is very important, so that you can just give feedback anonymously and tell us how you feel about certain aspects.
So people can compliment you anonymously, which is awesome.
I don't know. Yeah, well, that you don't need to do anonymously. For that you are happy to message also my here Brett Mullen. But no, be really honest, like with everybody who's listening, with the things that we will do great, but also what you expect. So we talked about a bunch of things here on the show. If there are some things that recently just came up and you guys really want to see that, or something that you have concerns with, honestly, just let us know, and we will take this into account. Sometimes it's not immediately something we can tackle, or something we plan to tackle, but they take time. By the way, this is the most frustrating thing. I tell you this. When you already plan something or have something that is, let's say, everything is ready, like the blog post is going out and you whatever, everything ready, but then there is a post or people front run you before you can, and then it seems like you didn't have this on your radar, right? But you had this already on your radar, and you actually everything prepared. So this is the most frustrating part when things front run your own initiatives. But please definitely let us know. The foundation is here for you. The foundation is here for everybody else to participate in. So if you want to participate in any shape or form, just let us know how you think this, and we can see if that fits or not. Don't take it personal if it's not a good fit. At the end of the day, yeah, we need to focus also on our work, because the board is giving us the mandate, and they expect from us sort of these things to be delivered. And if we don't deliver on these things, they wouldn't be happy with us either.
But how can we contribute at all? Like, do you need developers maybe, or content creators, or which kind of person is helpful for you? And how could anyone in the ecosystem listening right now contribute to the broader vision and help and support the foundation?
So everybody who's already contributing, right, is probably what they are doing best. Okay, so let's say people who do content creation, they probably right now do already content creation. People who do developer support on Discord, they're probably already doing developer support on Discord. And I'm primarily going to tackle myself those people, right? Like in terms of incorporating them, because I believe those people who already did the work, who already have shown in the past, retroactively, so to speak, great results, and that they do like these things with passion, they are the best to loop in whenever we like have sort of, let's say, an initiative going. Okay, so for example, if this is just an example. I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but let's say the lending protocol, and the lending protocol comes out, and there's a lot in terms that can be done in terms of education, specifically in tutorials. Like, how can you actually utilize these things? How do they work? What are sort of maybe the risks? What are the downsides of these things? Giving this out to people and to their audiences, right? Done by the people who already are really great in front of a camera, or great at writing posts or whatever, doing interviews. Is I think for example a good way how we could collaborate, right? So in that sense, I think that's the best. If that answers the question. That
definitely answered the questions. On this, Vet, thank you very much. I'm super excited.
Thank you.
I hope you will be very successful. I hope the XRP Ledger Foundation will be successful. As I said in the beginning, I think the communication part is the most important part, in my opinion, because this is really where the ecosystem lacks right now, like organization. We have all these diverse entities in the space, but there were never really a good kind of communication way of bringing everyone together and actually move forward in a more structured way. And I'm very convinced that you are the perfect one to do it. So I'm super excited and bullish on you, bullish on the foundation.
Thank you.
And you will do great.
I appreciate everything that you said. And I also want to say I really appreciate all the trust that is given me by everybody, so to speak, who wanted to see me in this position. Of course, from the whole board, only positive experience, and from everybody else around. Like I have a great feeling. Everybody else has a great feeling, and I think we now with this team we can like get cracking and just tackle these things and do a lot of awesome things for the ecosystem, for everybody. There will be, I promise you, there will be something for everyone. Like nobody will be sort of feel like left out, and exciting times ahead.
For sure. The year just started. The foundation is now going to get cracking, and I think this will be all fantastic. Thanks everyone for listening. Again, thanks Vet, and I hope we will see each other next week again. So bye bye guys. Ciao ciao.